Good evening. My name is Evelyn Cardenas-Segura, and today I'll be presenting sexual harassment in the workplace. The purpose of this presentation is going to be to inform you guys, to inform employees on distinct types of sexual harassment in the workplace and how to recognize it. Sexual harassment can destroy trust, unity, and productivity of everyone in the workplace. Therefore, we must educate to maintain a healthy and productive work environment built on mutual respect and trust. My first question is, did you know that in a survey conducted by Aware, 79% of victims who reported having experienced workplace sexual harassment were female and 21% were male? This is extremely important because employees need to know how to identify and handle sexual harassment. This just proves that it affects both men and women and in the workplace. Per FPI policy, which is my management company, all employees must attend a sexual harassment seminar and must read a complete a safe program on sexual harassment in the workplace. I myself have researched the topic and have taken training myself in sexual harassment. Today I will be discussing what is sexual harassment, the different types of sexual harassment, how to recognize it, and what you or your employer can do. Let's start by defining what sexual harassment is. Sexual harassment can be defined in many ways, but there is only one legal definition. According to the equal rights advocates, the law defines sexual harassment as unwelcome verbal, visual, nonverbal, or physical conduct of a sexual nature or based on someone's sex that is severe and pervasive and affects working conditions or creates a hostile work environment. Sexual harassment hurts everyone in the workplace, including men and women at all levels of an organization. This is not something that is imagined or exaggerated, and victims often feel embarrassed, insulted, angry, unsafe, degraded, all in the working environment. This can also occur between any level of employees. It can occur between supervisors, staff, co-workers, men and women, opposite sex and same sex. Even from vendors outside of the company with employees inside the company. Now that we've defined sexual harassment, let's specify the types of sexual harassment. There are many types of sexual harassment, but there are two main types in the workplace: hostile environment and quid pro quo. A hostile environment is determined by what a reasonable person would think is out of bounds or interferes with work. This can include sexual pictures, calendars, graffiti, or even just sexual objects. It can also include exposure to offensive language, gestures, or comments. Quid pro quo is defined as an exchange of something for something. As explained by FindLaw, quid pro quo harassment occurs in the workplace when a manager or other authority figure offers or merely hints that he or she will give the employee something, a raise or promotion, in return for that employee's satisfaction of a sexual demand. This is also when agreeing or rejection to said sexual events is used as a basis for employment decisions. This kind of harassment usually involves a supervisor or manager who treats or rewards in exchange for this sexual behavior to their employees or coworkers. Since there are several types of sexual harassments, the lines can blur between what is wrong and what is okay. Sexual harassment is not always easy to recognize. According to the EEOC, one of the key elements of sexual harassment is that the conduct or behavior is unwelcome. When sexual harassment occurs, the harasser conduct must be unwelcome or it might not be considered harassment. Threats or rewards for sexual actions are clearly wrong. However, sometimes it can be hard to determine which actions are okay and which are not. And that can be confusing, but you can ask yourselves some of the following questions to determine which is which. First off, is there an abuse of power? A quid pro quo situation is an example of an abuse of power, clearly, because it's something for something, usually between a higher up employee and a lower down employee. How does the behavior make another person feel? Does it make another person feel uncomfortable? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? How would you feel if your spouse, child, or other loved ones experienced something like this? Would you want them to? If your answer is no, then obviously you wouldn't want them to go through something like this, and it could be considered sexual harassment. If you are uncertain about the situation, considering this question could shed some light on the situation. Is the behavior unwanted? Unwanted and abusive actions can include anything from physical actions, verbal, or nonverbal actions. After asking yourself these questions, you can determine what your next step should be and what you can do to help others. You and your employer have some obligations in the prevention of sexual harassment. You can prevent sexual harassment by practicing the following. Respect your coworkers. Don't jump to any conclusions based on their appearance, how they act, or how they behave. And do not involve yourself in inappropriate situations or behavior. If you see any inappropriate behavior, make sure that you report it. Also understand that no means no. Take action if you see anything going on that makes you or somebody else uncomfortable. Also support your coworkers and encourage reporting. Encouraging reporting will make sure that you are letting other people know that you're behind them and that you respect them. If you are the target of unwanted sexual attention or behavior, respond to the situation. Let the other person know how their actions are making you feel. Record any specifics such as time, the place. Also, if you see anybody else around who witnessed the sexual harassment taking place. You should also report it and make sure you go over your sexual harassment policy and know your sexual harassment policy in the workplace. Remember that every employee is legally protected against sexual harassment. Now, as far as what your employer can do. As stated by the University of Minnesota Human Rights Library, having an effective policy and procedure coupled with anti-harassment training for all staff will assist in preventing and support individuals who are being harassed to come forward and ensure that the problem is addressed quickly and effectively. Regarding any reported harassment, the response from my company, which is FPI Management, will be sensitivity to employee and their rights, responses to complaints immediately, and maintaining a fair and respectful workplace. In conclusion, also according to the University of Minnesota Human Rights Library, both men and women in a workplace can find their work disrupted by sexual harassment even if they are not directly involved. Sexual harassment can have a demoralizing effect on everyone within range of it, and it often negatively impacts company productivity on the whole. Sexual harassment is briefly defined again as unwelcome or unwanted conduct of a sexual nature that affects the employees and the workplace. Again, there are several types of sexual harassment, and that can make it hard to identify what is considered okay and what is not. However, you can ask yourself those questions that we reviewed and consider what your next step should be. Finally, friends, family, and employees care about your well-being, and sexual harassment can severely affect you, which is why it is extremely important to know about your sexual harassment policies and sexual harassment in general in the workplace. Thank you very much.